You're dog meat, pal.
This is so nuts.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the worst secondary characters in movies that are even more despised than the main antagonists.
Authority is not given to you to deny the return of the king, steward.
Number 10, Walter Peck, Ghostbusters.
People think they're seeing ghosts, and they call these bozos who conveniently show up to deal with the problem with a fake electronic light show.
Despite the plethora of dangerous ghosts, the true villain in Ghostbusters is bureaucracy. Released in 1984, during the great Reaganite deregulation boom, one of the movie's antagonists is actually the Environmental Protection Agency. While he may sound perfectly reasonable to the modern viewer, EPA Inspector Walter Peck was reviled for years.
Don't patronize me. I'm not grotesquely stupid like the people you built.
He shows up to the Ghostbusters firehouse, demanding information about their dangerous technology. When they refuse to comply, he eventually gets a court order to shut them down, releasing hundreds of dangerous ghosts onto the streets of New York. His smugness in the face of their expertise totally warrants this placement. In 2024's Frozen Empire, Peck returns as the mayor of New York City, still harboring his distaste for the Ghostbusters.
The Ghostbusters are finished. Right, well, overruled.
Number 9, Mayor Larry Vaughn, Jaws.
You yell shark. We've got a panic on our hands on the 4th of July.
Audiences may respond positively to a villain if they are competent, charismatic, or if their goals hold a coherent internal logic. Conversely, there are certain character traits that immediately set moviegoers on edge. One of those, greed, is perfectly encapsulated in Mayor Larry Vaughn from Jaws.
Now, if you fellas are concerned about the beaches, you do whatever you have to make them safe. But those beaches will be open for this weekend.
At first, the mayor of Amity makes some solid sense. He's trying to balance public safety with the economic boom provided by beach-going tourists. Unfortunately, he alienates us all when that balance tips towards money over safety. Despite signs that lives are at stake, the mayor chooses to be deliberately obtuse and leave the beaches open. That poor decision eventually causes panic, as a great white shark claims many lives.
That's it. Goodbye. I'm not gonna waste my time arguing with a man who's lining up to be a hot lunch. I'm gonna see you later.
Number 8, Elle Driver, Kill Bill duology.
She must suffer to her last breath.
Bill, the leader of a band of assassins in the Kill Bill movies, has barely any screen time. Instead, Beatrix Kiddo, the bride, spends most of the 2 films wading through his minions. Some of those characters are even more odious than the King of Killers. His brother Bud, for example, is a ruthless sexist. He comes closer than anyone to killing off his erstwhile colleague.
That woman deserves her revenge.
But in 2 films filled to the brim with bad guys, Elle Driver takes the evil cake. Jealous of Beatrix's place in Bill's heart, she lets her personal animus color her actions. She is sadistic and twisted, deriving utmost pleasure from making her victims suffer.
That's right. I killed your master. And now I'm gonna kill you too. With your own sword, no less.
Number 7, Count Rugan, the Princess Bride.
Take him back to Florin and throw him in the pit of despair.
I swear it will be done.
The manipulative Prince Humperdinck may be the big bad evil guy in The Princess Bride, but he doesn't hold a candle to the six-fingered man. As our hero, Wesley, makes his way through the countryside to save his former girlfriend, he meets Inigo Montoya. Montoya is a charismatic swordsman hunting for the man who murdered his father.
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
That man was Count Rugan, Humperdinck's advisor and torture enthusiast. Comedian Christopher Guest plays Rugan with a downplayed malicious gusto, as he reads as cold and merciless. He tortures Wesley and taunts Montoya about his father's death. Montoya's eventual triumph over Rugan stands as one of the all-time most satisfying moments in cinema history.
I'm sure you've discovered my deep and abiding interest in pain. At present, I'm writing the definitive work on the subject.
Number 6, Ysf Tasov, John Wick.
Because you stole John Wick's car, sir, and killed his dog.
Over 4 films, Keanu Reeves' John Wick killed more than 400 people. His journey began back in 2014 because of the arrogant son of a Russian mob boss. Upon meeting Wick, who he mistook for a civilian, Ysf Tasov was insulted when Wick refused to sell him his car.
How much?
Excuse me?
How much for the car?
She's not for sale.
He and his boys roll up on Wick's house, beating him and murdering his puppy, a final gift from Wick's deceased wife. Ysf is a rich, spoiled, and entitled criminal. He's also the epitome of the phrase, F around and find out. His sadism and lack of self-control unleashed a wave of death and destruction that would ultimately shake the very foundations of the criminal world under the high table.
It's not what you did, son, that angers me so. It's who you did it to.
Number 5, Clarence J. Boddicker, RoboCop.
Why, you gotta be some kind of great cop. Come in here all by yourself.
RoboCop may be an action series, but the first few films were also meant to be a satire about capitalist dehumanization. The ultimate baddie in those installments was the Old Man, CEO of evil megacorporation OCP. However, it's Clarence J. Boddicker who truly embodies the worst of humanity in the first film.
Cops don't like me, so I don't like cops.
He and his gang of sadists are responsible for turning police officer Alex Murphy into RoboCop. Boddicker is a Joker-esque character motivated by chaos as opposed to greed. He is vicious, reveling in the suffering of his victims. He does what he wants when he wants, and what he usually wants is to steal and kill. Like many 80s villains, Boddicker is one-dimensional, with no redeeming characteristics whatsoever.
You probably don't think I'm a very nice guy.
Number 4, Lord Denethor, The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King.
But for Faramir, the city would still be standing. Were you not entrusted to protect it?
In many ways, Denethor, the steward of Gondor, is a tragic figure. He was born to rule the human nation of Gondor, but was slowly tainted by the influence of Sauron. Denethor arrogantly thought to use a Palantir, one of the lost seeing stones, to observe the comings and goings of Middle-earth. Through that connection, Sauron played on his fear and paranoia.
Oh yes, word has reached my ears of this Aragorn, son of Arathorn, and I tell you now, I will not bow to this ranger from the north.
The death of his favorite son, Boromir, tipped Denethor fully over the edge, his judgment utterly clouded by grief. At the end of his reign, Denethor made every wrong decision possible. He takes his pain out on his remaining son, Faramir, who he foolishly sends out to certain death. Instead of defending the city, Denethor falls into despair.
That I had died and Boromir had lived.
Yes. I wish that.
Number 3, Carter Burke, Aliens.
I mean, listen to what you're saying.
The Alien franchise has crossed into many genres over the years. While the first film was more of a psychological thriller, subsequent installments have leaned into action, or even horror. One consistent theme throughout, however, has been the perpetual threat of corporate greed. Time and again, the Weyland-Yutani Corporation was more than willing to prioritize profit over lives.
How many different ways do you want me to tell the same story?
Look at it from our perspective, please.
In the first film, for example, it was the android Ash who was tasked with recovering a live xenomorph. Comedian Paul Reiser was expertly cast as Carter Burke, the face of the corporation in the second film, Aliens. He is introduced to our heroine, Ripley, as an ally. However, as the film progresses, we quickly learn that Burke is a double-crossing corporate shill.
He figured that he could get an alien back through quarantine if one of us was impregnated.
Number 2, Cypher, The Matrix.
God damn you, Cypher.
Don't hate me, Trinity. I'm just a messenger.
There is a reason why Dante reserves the last circle of hell for betrayers in his book, L'Inferno. Traitors must first earn someone's trust in order to betray it. Cypher from the first Matrix film is one of the worst betrayers in movie history. Worn out by the war against the machines and jealous of Neo's relationship with Trinity, Cypher wants to be plugged back into the Matrix.
After 9 years, you know what I realize? Ignorance is bliss.
While that motivation may be understandable, the cost isn't. Not only must Cypher betray and kill his crew, he has to give over his captain to the machines. Through their interrogation of Morpheus, they can gain the entry codes to Zion, thereby wiping all of free humanity off the Earth.
I bet you never saw this coming, did you?
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few dishonorable mentions. Carlo Rizzi, The Godfather. A serial philanderer, Carlo crosses a final line when he sets Sonny up to be killed.
Mike, you got it all wrong. You fingered Sonny for the Barzini people. That little farce you played with my sister. You think that could fool the Corleone?
Mike, I'm innocent. I swear to kids. Please, Mike, don't do this to me.
Major Arnold Tote, Raiders of the Lost Ark. The only thing worse than a Nazi is a gross, creepy Nazi.
Wait, I can be reasonable.
That time is past.
You don't need that. Wait. I'll tell you everything.
Yes, I know you will.
Captain Byron Hadley, The Shawshank Redemption. This sadistic, murderous prison guard is the bane of Shawshank's prisoners.
You don't push him off the roof. Because if you do trust her, there's no reason you can't keep that 35,000.
What did you say?
35,000.
35,000?
All of it.
All of it?
Every penny.
You better start making sense.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Dolores Umbridge, Harry Potter franchise.
You have been told that a certain dark wizard is at large once again. This is a lie.
The Harry Potter books and films are filled to the gills with evil monsters and terrible people. The Malfoys are cruel, selfish bigots. Voldemort is a wizard supremacist and mass murderer, while Bellatrix Lestrange, his favorite weapon, is a psychotic killer who delights in the pain of others. None, however, are as universally reviled as Dolores Umbridge.
See me later, Mr. Potter. My office.
Umbridge is the perfect representation of many real-life petty people drawn to bureaucratic positions of power. She uses her position to enforce her rigid ideology through psychological punishment, physical torture, and the infliction of suffering, but manages to hide her sadism behind her bubbly pink facade. Umbridge represents institutional cruelty at its worst, which is why she is one of the most hated fictional characters ever.
Yes?
Nothing. Do you agree with our list or hate it as much as we hate these side characters? Let us know in the comments below.
What are you Jimmy staring at? Back to work!
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.